Okay, Genesis chapter 20, kind of a curious chapter in the midst of this long drawn out expose on the promise of the child, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and waiting for Isaac to be born. We're kind of left in this middle chapter here. It's very interesting because I think what we can look at is a couple of lessons for Abraham in the midst of having these promises in process. He still has the up and down struggle of his own sin nature. He's not a perfect man. So they journey south a little bit, maybe 60 miles south, and they settle in a little bit of a long-term, semi-permanent new location. And in the process of it, they're in the midst of another people. And Abraham has suspicions about this ruler in the area because he takes women into his harem. And he's concerned, similar to 25 years earlier when they're in Egypt. He tells Sarah, just tell them you're my sister, because I don't want them to kill me if you're my wife. So this is Abraham's little white lie that he has held in for a long time. And God's in the process of bringing it to the surface, forcing Abraham to stop with this lie, get it out in the open, and God uses this pagan king to do this. So, of course, Sarah must have been really beautiful. She's close to 90 now, and she is actually pulled into this harem, even at 90 years old, past childbearing age, right? They still see this kind of process. And in the dream, God warns Abimelech, don't touch her, return her, or I'll wipe your whole group out, your whole family, everybody with you. So Abimelech is shocked, and he appeals, in the integrity of my heart, I didn't know. I'll do everything, make it right. So Abimelech has a good and quality character, which we see later in the chapter Abraham was suspicious of, but it's Abraham who is being rebuked for his suspicious character, because Abraham's story kind of comes out as the king challenges him there in verse 10. He said, what did you have in mind, or what have you done? Why did you bring this upon me? So the king challenges Abraham. Now the king was warned by God up there in verse 7 that this guy's a prophet. First time it's been used in the Bible, this term, a prophet, a speaker on God's behalf. An intercessor, you might even say in the Hebrew lexicon there. So this is the first time that term has been used, and Abraham is God's representative before Abimelech. And God's representative needs to be rebuked by Abimelech. So Abraham then brings out the story, the confession. Well, she is kind of my half-sister and my wife. And, I kind of was worried and sort of lame. And you can see Abraham being exposed by it. But in the process, God, in his patience and in his mercy, uses this king to then bless. And it takes me to Romans where sin abounds, grace abounds all the more, grace superabounds, you might say. So Abraham doesn't deserve any of this goodness that comes his way by way of Abimelech. But we just have a little story tucked in here that God is dealing with this duplicated sin from 25 years prior that wasn't fully dealt with in Abraham's heart. And God wants to deal with it for him. Sarah is rebuked as well for going along with it. And the king is shown to be honorable beyond both of their expectations. And God is true to his word. He's merciful, and he blesses the household of Abimelech right after that.